In this great game of life, where every thought is a seed and every word a magnet, the power to remain unshaken is a rare and radiant gift. To learn to ignore is not to become cold or indifferent, it is to become master of your own inner kingdom. The world, like a stage, will send many actors to play their part before you. Some will speak in harmony with your soul, while others will attempt to cast their shadows upon your light. But the soul that knows its own worth does not tremble at every whisper. It stands firm, anchored in the quiet strength of divine wisdom. Many chase respect as though it were a prize to be won in the noise of approval. They twist and turn themselves into endless shapes, hoping to please the crowd. Yet respect does not come to the one who bends. It comes to the one who stands. When a person learns the sacred art of ignoring that which does not serve their peace, their presence begins to carry a silent authority. The world senses this stillness and, without quite knowing why, begins to listen more than it speaks. Respect is not demanded. It is magnetized. The law is simple and sure. Attention is power. Whatever you feed with your attention grows roots in your world. If you attend to criticism, it multiplies. If you entertain pettiness, it thrives. If you chase after every opinion, you lose the center of your own. But when you choose to turn your gaze away from the clamor, you starve these shadows of their strength. The noise fades, and your own voice grows clearer, like a bell that rings in a silent room. To ignore is not to deny. It is to choose wisely what deserves the precious gold of your energy. Just as a gardener does not water the weeds, the wise soul does not nourish every distraction. They know that peace is a delicate garden, and respect blooms only where self-command has taken root. The moment you cease to react to every thorn thrown your way, those who sought to disturb your calm lose their hold. People respect the one they cannot shake. The universe rewards inner stillness. When you stop defending, explaining, or proving your worth, the world sees your value more clearly. There is an invisible power in silence, a strength that cannot be faked. It is the quiet certainty that says, "I know who I am, and your noise does not define me." Those who once tested your boundaries begin to adjust their tone. Even storms bow to the mountain that does not move. So walk through life with the grace of one who listens to the whisper of their own soul above the shout of the world. Learn to ignore, not as an escape, but as a declaration of sovereignty. Let your stillness speak where your words do not need to. In that sacred quiet, respect will find its way to you. Like a river flowing back to its source, to ignore is not to diminish yourself, but to recognize your own value so fully that you no longer need to explain it to the world. There is a quiet strength in choosing not to answer every provocation, not to engage with every wandering voice that seeks to define you. When a person truly understands their worth, they cease to be swayed by the endless tides of opinion. They become their own anchor, steady and unshaken, standing in the calm center of their being. This act of ignoring is not weakness, it is sovereignty. It is the refusal to hand over your inner peace as a response to outer noise. People often imagine respect as something granted by others, as if it were a gift they must earn through compliance, performance, or constant explanation. But true respect does not flow from the outside in, it radiates from within. When someone stands in the certainty of who they are, they no longer chase validation, and it is precisely then that the world begins to take notice. It is human nature to value what is not easily shaken. The one who ignores petty slights, casual insults, and unnecessary drama creates an invisible boundary, a quiet line that says, "I will not bend for every passing wind." Others feel this, even if they cannot name it, and their behavior adjusts in the presence of such silent power. There is a kind of magnetism in self-possession. It cannot be bought, imitated, or forced. It comes only when a person decides that their energy is too precious to be spent explaining themselves to those who do not seek to understand. Every time you choose not to react to a provocation, you withdraw your power from that moment and place it back into your own hands. Every time you resist the urge to defend yourself against small minds, you strengthen the quiet fortress within you. Over time, this creates a presence that speaks louder than words ever could. People begin to recognize that you are not someone who can be manipulated through emotion or opinion, and that recognition slowly becomes respect. The world often tests strength not through grand challenges but through small, persistent whispers meant to distract. It may be a careless remark, an unnecessary comparison, or a subtle attempt to draw you into a storm that isn't yours. Most people respond out of impulse. They defend, explain, justify, argue. In doing so, they hand over their calm to whoever shakes it. But the one who ignores does not play this game. They see the whisper for what it is, a shadow without substance, a wind passing through an open field. And because they do not respond, the wind has nothing to move. It loses its force and fades into silence. When you begin to ignore with awareness, you stop chasing what is beneath you. You stop watering weeds. You learn that not everything deserves an answer, not every voice deserves your ear, and not every battle deserves your sword. This realization does not make you aloof, it makes you powerful. It teaches the world how to treat you, because how you respond, or do not respond, sets the tone for how others will behave in your presence. When you do not bend at every nudge, people learn where your lines are drawn. Respect grows naturally, not because you demanded it, but because you carried yourself as someone who already possesses it. There is an elegance in quiet dignity. It does not shout to be seen, it simply exists, and in that existence, it commands attention. The person who ignores wisely does not need to prove their intelligence, their worth, or their strength. Their silence does that for them. Others sense that their approval is neither sought nor required, and paradoxically, that makes it more eagerly given. Humans value what does not beg for their acceptance. They respect what stands apart, what holds its own center. When you learn to ignore, you also begin to refine your focus. You stop scattering your energy on countless, meaningless exchanges. You become selective about what enters your mental and emotional space. This selectiveness is a form of self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation upon which external respect is built. If you treat your time, your attention, and your energy as something valuable, others are forced to acknowledge its worth. But if you give them freely to every disturbance, the world learns to treat them as cheap. Ignoring, therefore, is an act of declaring, "I know what I'm worth, and this is beneath my attention." This kind of strength often unsettles those who are accustomed to controlling others through their reactions. When they cannot shake you, they begin to adjust. They either fall away or learn to meet you at the level of your calm. And those who stay begin to offer respect because they have witnessed the quiet wall they cannot breach. You do not need to build this wall through aggression or arrogance. Simple silence and indifference to nonsense will do. There is nothing louder than a composed mind. Ignorance born of insecurity is different from ignoring born of strength. The latter is deliberate, conscious, and rooted in self-awareness. It is not escapism, it is mastery. It is the understanding that not every noise deserves to live rent-free in your mind. It is the choice to be the observer, not the reactor. And as you cultivate this discipline, your presence shifts. You move from being someone who is affected by the world to someone who affects the world simply by how they hold their own energy. When others see that they cannot provoke a reaction from you, they begin to perceive you as unshakable. And people respect what they cannot shake. They may test it at first, out of habit or curiosity, but the consistency of your stillness teaches them that this is not a performance, it is who you are. Over time, your silence becomes a language of its own. It speaks of boundaries, of self-worth, of clarity. It says, "I will not lower my vibration to meet your chaos." And that silent message is far more powerful than any explanation could ever be. To ignore is to rise above without announcing the ascent. It is to carry your dignity like a shield, not to attack but to remain untouched. It is a quiet refusal to participate in anything that diminishes your peace or distracts from your path. And as you walk this way, people sense it. They step more carefully around you, not out of fear but out of a growing awareness that your respect is not easily earned, your energy not cheaply given, your presence not casually swayed. It is in this stillness, in this quiet declaration of self-worth, that true respect begins to take root. Attention is the purest form of power a person possesses. Wherever it flows, life responds. It is the silent force that feeds everything it touches, shaping the world around you in ways that are often unseen but always felt. Every thought, every word, every reaction is a form of giving energy to something. What receives your attention grows stronger, takes shape, and begins to influence your experience. To guard your attention is to guard your reality. To let it wander aimlessly is to allow the world to shape you instead of you shaping it. When someone learns to protect their attention with quiet strength, they become the true architect of their inner world. The world is constantly reaching for your attention. Every sound, every opinion, every distraction carries invisible hands that try to pull at your focus. It can come in the form of small irritations, meaningless conflicts, empty noise, or seductive temptations. If you respond to each one, if you offer your attention freely to every passing disturbance, you slowly give away your power, piece by piece. It is not the loudest distractions that drain a person. It is the constant small leaks of attention that weaken the inner fortress. The one who learns to direct and protect this force becomes untouchable. They know that attention is not something to be wasted. It is sacred currency. When you give your attention to a person or situation, you give it power over your state of mind. If someone tries to provoke you and you respond with emotion, they have succeeded in redirecting your focus. But when you hold your attention like a calm river, refusing to be disturbed by every stone thrown into it, your inner strength multiplies. People quickly learn that they cannot move you by simple tricks. They realize that their words, their reactions, their noise have no entry point into your quiet. In that moment, your power stands taller than their noise. Many believe that power is loud, that it shows itself through dominance or control. But true power is subtle. It lies in the ability to decide what deserves your attention and what does not. It is not about winning every battle. It is about not allowing unnecessary battles to enter your mind in the first place. Your attention is the gatekeeper. What you let through will shape the castle behind it. If you give your attention to smallness, your world becomes small. If you feed chaos, chaos grows. But if you keep your gaze on peace, clarity, and purpose, everything that does not match that frequency begins to lose its grip. The secret is that attention does not just observe, it feeds. Just as water nourishes the seeds it touches, your attention nourishes the experiences it rests upon. A slight irritation can turn into a storm if you keep feeding it with thoughts and reactions. A careless word can become a wound if you let your attention replay it again and again. But that same irritation dissolves into nothing when you refuse to give it your focus. It withers like a plant denied water. In this way, guarding your attention is not resistance, it is quiet mastery. The mind, if not directed, becomes a servant to every passing distraction. It moves from one noise to another, never still, always restless. This restlessness is the doorway through which your peace escapes. To reverse this, you must choose deliberately where your attention goes. You must decide that not every sound deserves to be heard, not every shadow deserves to be chased, not every storm deserves to enter your house. This is not coldness, it is refinement. It is the way of the person who understands the weight of their own power. When others encounter someone who holds their attention with quiet precision, they feel it, even if they cannot explain it. It creates an invisible wall around you, a sense that you are not easily shaken or distracted. This quality commands respect without demand. People realize that their words will not pull you where you do not want to go, that their chaos will not disturb your calm unless you choose to allow it. This choice is what separates the reactive from the powerful. Every provocation in life is an invitation to hand over your attention. Arguments are not sustained by logic but by the energy of focus. Gossip does not grow without listeners. Drama cannot thrive without an audience. When you ignore what does not deserve your energy, it crumbles from lack of nourishment. The loudest noise falls silent when it finds no ears to catch it. By simply holding your attention steady, you starve what seeks to feed on it. Attention is also the foundation of self-respect. When you give it freely to everything, you treat your energy as if it has no value. But when you guard it like something precious, you silently teach the world to treat it the same way. People learn how to handle your energy by watching how you handle it yourself. If they see you protecting your attention, not chasing after distractions, not reacting to every spark, they instinctively respect your space. They understand that entering your focus is not something easily earned. What you focus on grows inside you as well. If you give your attention to complaints, you cultivate bitterness. If you give it to fear, you strengthen its chains. But if you give your attention to clarity, purpose, and inner peace, those things become your natural state. You are not just guarding against the outside world, you are shaping the inner one. Attention is the sculptor, and your life is the stone. Every thought is a chisel strike. Every focus is a carving. Over time, what you feed becomes the figure you stand beside. It is not necessary to fight distractions. It is only necessary to stop feeding them. A fire burns because wood is given to it. A distraction grows because attention is offered. When you hold your gaze away, when you allow the fire to burn out on its own, your silence becomes the extinguisher. This is the strength of selective focus. It requires no struggle, only decision. As you learn to protect your attention, you begin to move differently. You stop reacting to noise. You stop justifying your peace. You let the world whirl around you without being pulled into its spin. People sense this steadiness and are drawn to it because it is rare. Most are carried by every wave of emotion, every whisper, every nudge. But the one who stands anchored in their attention becomes a presence that others respect instinctively. Attention is not just a tool, it is the very fabric of power. Where it goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, reality grows. The moment you understand this fully, you realize that giving your attention is not a casual act. It is a transaction. It is saying to the world, "This matters to me." And when you say that, the world responds accordingly. If you give it to trivial things, you create a trivial world. If you give it to strength, you build strength around you. If you guard it, the world learns that your energy is not cheap. Every distraction, every provocation, every petty moment is a test, a quiet question asking if it deserves your power. Most do not. And in saying no with silence, in turning away without reaction, you do more than ignore, you declare mastery. Your attention becomes your throne, and not everyone gets to sit before it. This unspoken truth is what separates those who are carried by the world from those who shape it with their quiet strength. Respect is drawn not by noise, not by demands, but by the calm that cannot be disturbed. There is a silent authority that belongs to those who have mastered their inner stillness. This stillness is not passive, nor is it indifference. It is the steady awareness of one's own worth, unbothered by the shifting winds of other people's moods, opinions, or attempts to control. In a world where many are quick to defend, argue, and prove, the person who stands unmoved creates a power that others cannot ignore. Respect does not flow to the one who reacts to everything. It flows to the one who remains composed when everything around them calls for reaction. People instinctively respect what they cannot shake. When they encounter someone who holds their center, no matter how loud the noise grows, they sense a boundary without needing it explained. It is a quiet, invisible line that says, "Your storm is not mine." This kind of steadiness carries weight. It is felt before it is understood. It is not something that has to be declared with raised voices or long speeches. It is simply known. When others sense this calm strength, their behavior begins to shift. They lower their tones, choose their words more carefully, and approach with a different energy. Respect begins not because you demanded it, but because your presence silently commands it. Inner stillness is not built in a day. It is the result of choosing, moment after moment, not to be pulled into every wave that passes by. It is the discipline of letting the world whirl without letting it enter your core. While others waste their energy fighting every ripple, the still soul learns to let the water pass without losing its reflection. This stillness becomes an anchor in every storm. It is the reason why some people seem untouchable, not because they are harder, but because they are quieter inside. That quiet is power, and power earns respect far faster than any display of force. Most people react out of habit. When they hear something sharp, they respond with sharper words. When they feel provoked, they defend or attack. But the one who has found their inner quiet does not respond in the expected way. They pause, they breathe, they allow the noise to pass without becoming part of it. This unexpected calm confuses those who rely on reactions to feel powerful. It removes their fuel. Without a reaction, their attempts fall flat. Over time, they begin to view this stillness not as weakness, but as something stronger than their noise. Respect begins to take root in their minds because they realize they cannot control or disturb what they cannot move. True stillness is not silence alone. It is mastery. It is the ability to hear criticism without absorbing it, to witness chaos without being drawn into it, to stand in your truth without the need to prove it. When someone carries this kind of stillness, they do not chase respect. It arrives naturally. Others instinctively lean toward that energy, because in a restless world, stillness is rare and powerful. People trust those who are not easily swayed. They respect those who do not crumble at the first sign of pressure. They admire those who can walk through storms without shouting back at the thunder. This kind of presence is not loud, it is not dramatic, it does not beg to be seen. It simply exists, and its existence changes the space around it. When you are calm, others lower their voices. When you do not react to provocation, it dies in the air. When you remain composed in conflict, the noise begins to fold into silence. This is why inner stillness commands more respect than loudness ever could. People may ignore words, but they do not ignore energy. They feel the weight of stillness in a room, and they adjust themselves without being told to. To be unshakable is not to be unfeeling. It is to feel deeply but choose what deserves expression. It is to understand that not every impulse deserves a reaction, and not every noise deserves an answer. It is to hold your energy with quiet confidence, knowing that giving it away recklessly would only make you smaller. Respect follows those who respect their own peace first. The more you honor your calm, the more others are compelled to honor it too. They begin to see that disturbing your peace is not a simple task, and they instinctively adjust their approach. Stillness does not mean you are untouched by life. It means you have learned not to let every gust of wind decide the shape of your sail. When people realize that they cannot manipulate you through your emotions, they begin to respect the boundary that stillness creates. They speak with more care. They test less. They stop expecting you to crumble under pressure because you have shown them time and time again that their noise has no power here. Respect is often misunderstood as something external, a gift given by others, but it begins inside. When your own mind respects its stillness, the world mirrors it. When you value your peace above petty battles, those battles stop seeking you out. People treat you according to the energy you project, and stillness projects strength that does not need validation. It quietly tells the world that your peace is not for sale. The power of stillness is that it creates space. It is in that space that respect grows. People do not respect those who are easily swayed because such energy feels unstable, but they respect deeply those who hold their line with quiet grace. They trust such people more. They listen more carefully. They value their words because they are not scattered or impulsive. Their stillness gives weight to their presence, and presence is what shapes how others respond. This quality cannot be faked. Pretending to be calm is not the same as being still. The world senses the difference. Real stillness does not tighten its fists behind closed doors. It does not mask boiling chaos beneath a thin layer of silence. Real stillness is quiet strength. It is a deep-rooted knowing of self. And it is this depth that makes others feel the weight of it even before you speak. When you are still, you stop needing to prove yourself. The urge to explain, to fight for acknowledgement fades. You do not chase respect. It finds its way to you naturally because people are drawn to what they cannot shake. The louder others become, the more powerful your silence appears. In a room full of noise, stillness becomes a command. It does not ask to be heard, it is heard by its very nature. This is why respect is born from inner stillness. It is not a negotiation, it is not earned through overexertion or endless explanations. It flows to the one who embodies calm strength. Others adjust to stillness because it gives them no other choice. The storms outside have no hold over the calm within. When your center is steady, the world takes notice. When your presence is quiet but firm, people lean in. And when your stillness speaks louder than your words, respect follows like a shadow that never leaves. Silence has a language far more powerful than the loudest voice in the room. It carries a weight that words often cannot. Where noise demands attention, silence commands it. Where defense invites struggle, silence dissolves it. There is a certain majesty in refusing to explain yourself to those who have already decided what to believe. In walking away from noise without carrying its echoes. Silence, when chosen consciously, becomes a shield stronger than arguments and a force sharper than any weapon. People may resist words, they may twist them, they may try to overpower them, but they cannot overpower silence. It stands untouchable, impenetrable, and undeniable. When someone hurls criticism or provocation, they expect sound in return. They expect a defense, a reaction, an exchange that feeds their fire. But silence offers no wood for their flames. It starves the storm of the energy it craves. The more they push and find no reaction, the more their noise turns hollow. Silence has a way of turning someone else's noise back on them. It leaves them alone with the weight of their own words, forcing them to hear themselves more clearly. In that moment, it is not you who is exposed. It is them. Defensiveness often weakens a person because it hands power to the one who provoked it. The instant you defend, you accept the premise of the attack. You allow the other person to frame the conversation, to dictate the tone. But silence refuses the frame. It stands outside the argument and makes it irrelevant. It tells the world, without a word spoken, that not every accusation deserves your breath, not every question deserves your voice, not every storm deserves your sail. It is a declaration without a speech. It is power without display. Many believe that silence is passive, but true silence is an active choice. It is the decision to value your peace over your pride, your calm over their chaos. It requires more strength to stay silent than to react. Reaction is easy, defense is instinctive, but silence is mastery. It is the moment when your self-respect speaks louder than your need to be understood. It says, "I know my truth. I do not need to offer it to your noise." And in that stillness, power gathers. Silence also carries mystery. People fear what they cannot read. When you stay silent, others are left to wonder. They begin to fill the space with their own thoughts, their own interpretations, their own awareness of the moment. This can unsettle those who rely on predictable reactions. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. And when they cannot control you, they begin to respect you. Silence, therefore, is not absence. It is presence intensified. It does not fade from the moment. It dominates it quietly. Every word spent defending against nonsense is a piece of energy you give away. Every explanation offered to those who do not wish to understand is a door you open that did not need to be opened. Silence closes those doors. It keeps your energy contained, your dignity untouched. It does not lower itself to meet chaos on its level. It rises above it without announcing the ascent. And because silence cannot be argued with, it wins battles without ever entering them. The strength of silence is felt most in conflict. When tempers rise and voices grow sharp, the one who remains silent shifts the entire atmosphere. The loud begin to sound louder, the petty begins to sound pettier. Silence magnifies the smallness of the noise around it. Those who came prepared for a fight find themselves without an opponent. Those who hope to shake your composure find themselves shaking in their own frustration. In that imbalance, respect begins to form. People do not forget the one who does not flinch. Silence is also deeply tied to self-respect. When you feel the need to constantly defend yourself, it means you have given too much power to other people's opinions. You have placed your worth in their hands. But when you stand silent, you place it back where it belongs, within yourself. It is a statement that you do not require their understanding to know your value. You do not need their approval to exist in your truth. This kind of silence is not weakness, it is authority. It is the calm of someone who no longer dances for validation. In a world addicted to noise, silence feels like rebellion. People are used to reaction, to immediate explanations, to battles fought with words, but when faced with silence, they have nothing to grip. It is like trying to hold smoke in their hands. It slips away, leaving only themselves to confront. This quiet power unsettles some, intrigues others, but always leaves an impression. People remember silence because it lingers long after words are forgotten. Silence also sharpens your presence. When you are not constantly defending or reacting, you begin to carry an aura of certainty. Others sense that your energy is not easily accessed, that your attention is not freely given. It makes every word you do choose to speak carry more weight. Because you speak less, people listen more. Because you defend less, they question themselves more. Silence is not the absence of voice. It is the concentration of power. Those who respect themselves do not rush to explain themselves. They do not chase understanding from those committed to misunderstanding. They do not hand their peace to passing opinions. They let silence hold the space, trusting that their truth does not need defending to remain true. This level of calm is rare, and what is rare commands respect. People lean in when you do not rush to fill the space. They begin to treat your silence like a mirror in which they see themselves more clearly. When silence becomes your language, others learn that not everything will get a response. Not every attempt to shake you will succeed. Not every loud voice will be met with another. And when they learn this, they adjust their tone. The noise lowers. The chaos fades. Respect grows. Not because you demanded it, but because your silence taught them how to speak to you. In silence there is no need for approval, no urge to prove, no weakness to exploit. It is a place where you hold all your power close, where you let the world speak first and reveal itself, while you remain untouched by its attempts. It does not mean you are detached from reality. It means you refuse to let reality dictate your peace. It means you have chosen your dignity over debate, your serenity over struggle, and in doing so, you create an atmosphere around you that others cannot easily disturb. The weight of silence often speaks more than 1,000 words ever could. Where defense can be twisted, silence cannot. Where arguments can be challenged, silence remains untouchable. It reflects strength not through noise but through presence. And because it does not rely on others to be powerful, it cannot be taken away by others. This is why silence speaks louder than defense. It carries the voice of someone who already knows their worth and does not need to spend it proving anything to anyone. Boundaries are not walls built out of fear. They are lines drawn out of self-respect. They are quiet declarations of what you will and will not allow to shape your life. They are not made to control others, but to protect the space where your peace and dignity live. When a person carries boundaries with quiet confidence, they do not need to plead for respect. Their very presence demands it. It is not the loud insistence on being treated well that commands respect, but the silent certainty that you will walk away from what does not honor your worth. Many people seek respect through constant explanations, trying to convince others why they deserve it, But real respect is not begged for, it is commanded by the way you hold yourself. Boundaries are not about trying to change other people's behavior. They are about deciding what behavior will no longer have access to your world. It is not a negotiation but a statement. When someone feels the firmness of your line, they understand the weight of your presence. They sense that there are limits that cannot be crossed without consequence. This is where respect begins to grow. Not through demands, but through quiet strength. Boundaries shape how the world treats you. When you are clear with yourself about what is acceptable, others begin to mirror that clarity. People learn through response. If you allow disrespect, it continues. If you meet it with silence and distance, it ends. If you speak once and hold to your boundary without bending, the world adjusts. It is not about being hard or cold, it is about honoring the space you inhabit. A person who respects their own boundaries teaches everyone around them how to treat them. This kind of strength is not loud. It does not come with grand declarations or emotional outbursts. It lives in quiet consistency. You do not need to raise your voice when your boundaries speak for you. The energy of certainty is louder than any argument. People feel it when they encounter someone who has decided that their peace is non-negotiable. They test less. They speak differently. They measure their steps more carefully, not because you threaten them, but because your boundaries made the rules clear without a single plea. Boundaries are also deeply connected to self-worth. If you do not see your own value, you will allow the world to walk past your lines. You will keep bending to be liked, adjusting to be accepted, and shrinking to avoid conflict. But when you see your worth, you no longer offer your energy to what drains it. You stop explaining your standards. You stop trying to prove why you deserve basic respect. You simply live it. And when you live it, others either rise to meet it or fall away. Boundaries do not push away what is right for you, they filter out what is not. The strength of boundaries lies in their quietness. Loud defenses often come from insecurity, but silent certainty comes from knowing. When you hold your boundaries calmly, you do not need to convince anyone to honor them. Their reaction to your boundary reveals their respect for you. Those who truly value you adjust. Those who do not were never meant to stay. This quiet clarity saves you from endless explanations and wasted energy. People respect what they cannot move easily. When your boundaries are clear and firm, others understand that they cannot simply manipulate you with pressure, emotion, or noise. They learn quickly that your kindness is not weakness, and your silence is not surrender. It is power held close, not needing to prove itself. Boundaries give shape to your presence, and presence is what commands respect long before words are spoken. Setting boundaries also removes the need to defend yourself constantly. When your lines are clear, your energy is preserved. You do not need to fight every battle because most battles end before they begin. People who see a firm boundary instinctively know where they stand. There is no space for repeated disrespect, no room for manipulation, no fuel for unnecessary conflict. This quiet clarity is what gives boundaries their strength. It is not about controlling others. Boundaries are about mastering your own space. You cannot control how someone behaves, but you can control what you allow to continue. This is the power of walking away without noise. The boundary is the quiet message that says, "This is where my respect for myself lives." And when people encounter that, they either align with it or remove themselves from it. Both outcomes serve your peace. Many misunderstand boundaries as cruelty, but they are in truth a form of kindness to yourself and to others. They remove confusion. They create structure. They let others know exactly where they stand with you. This honesty earns more respect than forced niceness ever could. People may not always like your boundaries, but they will learn to respect them. Boundaries also teach you to stop over-explaining. When you trust your own worth, you stop trying to justify your decisions to those who do not value them. You learn to let your silence and your actions speak. You realize that respect is not built on endless justification, but on quiet consistency. You do not need to prove why your line exists. The line itself is enough. When boundaries are clear, your energy becomes focused. You stop scattering it across meaningless exchanges. You stop letting every voice reach your ears. You become deliberate in who and what you give your attention to. This focus creates an atmosphere around you, an invisible structure that others can feel. It tells them, without words, that your peace is sacred ground. People do not trample where they sense strength. The beauty of strong boundaries is that they do not require aggression. They are firm but not harsh, quiet but unyielding. They are simply there, like the edge of a cliff, clear, undeniable, and respected by anyone who approaches. The power of a boundary is not in how loudly you declare it, but in how consistently you hold it. It is this consistency that turns a line into a law in the minds of others. When others see that your boundaries do not move with their emotions, their respect for you grows. They may push once, but when they find no weakness in the line, they step back. People may not always say it aloud, but they admire firmness. They respect what cannot be shaken. They trust what stands without wavering. Boundaries give them something solid to recognize, something unchanging in a world full of shifting sands. Boundaries also strengthen your relationship with yourself. Every time you honor your lines, you tell yourself that your peace matters. Every time you choose your dignity over pleasing others, you grow taller inside. Over time, your energy begins to carry a quiet authority. Others sense it and respond. Respect begins with how you treat yourself, and boundaries are the clearest expression of that self-respect. Even silence becomes more powerful when it rests on strong boundaries. It is not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of someone who knows their worth and refuses to waste it on what does not align. When your boundaries are firm, you no longer explain, chase, or convince. You simply exist within your own structure, and the world organizes itself around it. Those who truly value you will never be threatened by your boundaries. They will see them as a reflection of strength, not distance. Those who cannot respect them will fall away, leaving only what is aligned with your worth. This is how respect grows naturally, not through force, not through persuasion, but through the steady presence of someone who knows where their lines are drawn and never moves them for noise. Boundaries are not armor to keep the world out. They are anchors that keep you from drifting into spaces where your peace is not honored. They allow you to remain soft without being stepped on, kind without being used, present without being drained. This is the quiet power of someone who commands respect without needing to ask for it. It lives in the way they hold their space, in the way they do not chase, in the way they do not allow anyone to redraw their lines. Boundaries speak louder than demands because they show, without words, exactly where strength begins.